So for today's art show, we'll be redesigning 3 cartoon characters from the cartoon Biker Mice from Mars. This cartoon is actually getting a reboot with the Nasal Company being behind it alongside Ryan Reynolds, aka Deadpool, and so that is what inspired today's drawing prompt. So now that we got the prompt out of the way, let's get to the drawing. So before I start the video proper by discussing how I redesigned these 3 characters I'll be drawing and how they compare to their old designs, I wanted to give a little synopsis and history lesson about Biker Mice from Mars for viewers who are unaware of the show, because I will be referencing it later in the video. So essentially you have these 3 mice furries who live on the planet Mars with their mice furry friends who ended up having to leave said planet because a race of aliens called Plutarchians extracted a lot of the resources from their home planet, effectively making them environmental refugees, and they crashed their spaceship into Chicago, Illinois, USA, of all places on the planet, coincidentally, and become friends with a human woman there named Charlie, who ends up filling them in that there is a human business millionaire extracting the resources on Earth and taking them elsewhere, and that human business man ends up being a Plutarchian disguising as a human business billionaire, sending those resources back to Plutarch, the home planet of the alien race that destroyed the Mice's planet. Yeah, quite a synopsis, but it was 90s, so what were you expecting? So now that I got the admittedly wacky plot of Biker Mice from Mars out of the way, I'll be drawing the 3 Biker Mice furries I mentioned in that crazy plot synopsis. And the first Biker Mice that I'll be drawing is Throttle, as you can see him on screen. He essentially acts as the Leonardo of the trio and is the straight, narrow voice of reason compared to the other 2 mice who are more extreme in personality. You see him give commands in the show whenever they're getting into scruff-ups with Mr. Limburger and his henchmen, and he's just, I guess, more reasonable compared to the other 3, but considering he's the leader, obviously. And I compare him to Leonardo because this show was made in the 90s, and so at that time every company was trying to have their own TMNT success story, so copy and paste the formula of anthro hero groups and you get a craze. So I drew headshots in this video alongside full body portraits because not only did I want to give the final picture a character sheet feel, as if I'm one of the people working on the reboot, but I also put a lot of detail in these redesigns, more than usual, especially compared to my other drawings, and having a headshot just helps me out, so don't judge me. Let me show you Throttle's 90s simpler cartoon design. In the original cartoon, he basically rocks blue leather pants, I'm assuming it's leather because it's skin tight, black boots. He has a holster for his guns because this is a boys cartoon, so we're gonna have action in it. He has a golden buckle holding his belt, and he rocks a quiff hairstyle, at least that's what it says in the wiki. He has sunglasses because he ended up losing his eyes in a battle back on his home planet, because yes, these 3 are also soldiers, former ones at least. He has piercings on his ears, and he wears a sleeveless black leather vest that isn't zipped up, so incoming furry bait, and he wears a black tattoo on his left arm. So I gave Throttle a jumpsuit in this redesign because when I think of jumpsuit, I think of people in the Air Force who wear jumpsuits when they fly like very fast planes. And I wanted to give this soldier motif mixed with biker aesthetic to Throttle because he is the serious one out of the 3. And technically all 3 of the Biker Mice are former soldiers because they tried to fight the Plutarchians off their planet when they were taking their resources. So that's a little plot point that I want to introduce here. And I wanted to still call homage to his 90s cartoon counterpart, so I gave the jumpsuit a top part that's black, a bottom part that's navy blue, and his boots are silver and red. And I also made parts of his outfit red to match the red handkerchief he's wearing around his neck. He's a little more clean cut, so he's not, rocking any piercings, but his hairstyle is the same. He still wears sunglasses. And looking at his design, it reminds me of King of Fighters K-Dash if he were a furry, but what can you do? Throttle's cool, so whatever. And I'll be referencing the 90s cartoon to compare designs because in the 2000s reboot, they basically wear the same outfit. And just a heads up, personally, I think the redesigns of the mice in that show were bad. Throttle especially looks like a wet dog with shaggy fur that wore Mickey ears and was told to go to the Biker Mice from Mars cartoon set. Ew. So the next biker mice in the trio that I'll be covering is Moto. Moto essentially is the gentle giant of the trio. Despite being 6'8", the most muscular mice in the trio, and losing his eye during the Plutarchian War that they fought back in Mars, and losing his arm to one of Mr. Limburger's would-be henchmen back on Mars, he's still very sweet and smiley and is very nice to people who don't suck, but he absolutely can be that stereotypical meathead if you are nasty or put his friends in danger, and especially if you call him a rat. PSA, Moto will like everyone to know that he's not a rat, he is a mouse, and those two animals are not the same species, but in real life, Moto actually has a point. I think Moto might be the favorite of 3 mice, and this is just a personal observation. You can disagree entirely, and tell me what your favorite biker mice is for any Biker Mice from Mars fans, because personally I like all 3 of them equally. But I think Moto is very well liked because the voice actor behind Moto really seemed to get in character and just brought a charm to Moto, and I think people could feel that in his performances. So yeah, Moto's a really charming character, and I understand why he has some ardent fans. But to put it frankly, another reason being is that this show finds all the biker mice, but especially Moto, to be quite hot, because there's some shots of their bodies in the show that are, in retrospect, pretty salacious. And hey, I'm indifferent. This is not really my thing, but I see what's going on and you can't deceive me. Nah, let me stop tripping. So here's Moto's older design from the 90s cartoon. He's wearing purple and blue boots, he's wearing blue leather pants just like Throttle, and he has a purple belt, and he's wearing he's wearing a harness. He's wearing a red and purple harness. This show, okay, he's wearing a red and purple harness, and he ended up getting a metal arm to replace his arm he lost to Miss Carbuncle, who's the name of the scientist who experimented on Moto and took his arm away. And so he basically was the Winter Soldier before the Winter Soldier had an appearance in the MCU. So unlike Throttle's redesign I did earlier, I did change quite a bit about Moto in this redesign. So for starters, I did give him hair because I think it's lame that Throttle's the only one in the trio who has a hairstyle, but I guess that makes him unique. And like Throttle, I gave Moto textured hair and a wider nose because Moto's voice actor was black, and I don't think it's a hot take to say that the voice actor did a good job and made the character, so I'm paying homage to him for doing such a good job bringing a character to life that people really like. And when it comes to his outfit, I decided to give him a boxer motif to go alongside the biker aesthetic since he is the muscle of the group. And he has an arm cannon, so he does a lot of punching in the show too, so there you go. So I gave Moto a jumpsuit as well, just like Throttle's redesign, but to keep in line with the boxer motif I said earlier that I was going to apply to Moto, I gave him a hoodie when it came to his jumpsuit, and I also wanted to pay homage to his 90s cartoon counterpart by keeping the color scheme, because unlike Throttle, he's wearing a jumpsuit that's radically different than what he was wearing earlier. But I made the hoodie, in the colors of his 90s cartoon outfit. It's purple and blue. He has, a red glove on his non-metal arm, and, to imitate boxer gloves. He's wearing a boxer, winning championship belt style belt for his belt buckle. And I decided to make his, leather pants have this weird cutout shape to make it look like boxer shorts that you see boxers wearing. And I just went all in on the boxer motif with this one. So now we're down to our final biker mice, and this guy is also a pretty big hit with fans from what I've seen online, and that is Vinny. Vinny is the wild child. He loves thrills. He loves getting in danger. He, is addicted to adrenaline, and he's a lot more rowdy and outgoing compared to the other two mice I mentioned earlier. And so he's kind of like the little brother of the group, or the Prompto for all the Final Fantasy fans out there. So while I like all three biker mice equally personally, I don't really have much to say about Vinny as a character, besides, the description I gave of his personality earlier, him being a problem child, because I think, the description speaks for itself. And considering that all three of these biker mice are, bikers, I think that type of rambunctious, rebellious attitude is just going to come with the territory. So even though Vinny definitely is more excitable by action and is, thrill-seeking and enjoys the rush that comes with danger, it kind of, I guess, doesn't stand out super much compared to Throttle and Moto's personalities, because, again, they're bikers. So that type of, trouble and thrill-seeking is kind of, coming with the territory. Now, one thing I will mention is that Vinny has this will they, won't they with Charlie, the human mechanic woman that I mentioned earlier. And based on the final episode of the cartoon that I ended up watching, I guess they became a thing, but I'm not sure because this is a boys cartoon, so we have to have action and things going kaboom, and we don't have time for all the sappy romance like the girls' cartoons. JK. When it comes to Vinny's 90s cartoon design, he's basically kind of rocking similar attire. He has blue leather pants, black boots, a belt. He's also wearing a ascot around his neck as well, but it's tied differently. And is that another harness? Lord have mercy. I don't think the designers of the original designs will come to realize that putting harnesses on muscular male furry characters would invite a certain type of fan. But hindsight is a bitch. But he wears this, what I'm assuming is a harness, because it holds his flash bombs, which is his signature weapon. And before I get to my redesign of Vinny, all the biker mice have their signature weapon. Moto has his mechanical arm that not only hits hard, but he also can shoot lasers from it. And Throttle has a laser shooting pistol along with these knuckles that enhance his punches, which makes the K-Dash comparison that I made earlier very coincidental, to say the least. But off the main weapon tangent and on to Vinny's redesign. So for Vinny's redesign, I basically have him wearing a similar outfit to Throttle's in the 90s cartoon, because if you ask me, Throttle's design in the 90s cartoon looked really cool, and I think it would fit Vinny even better because, he's trying to be the cool action hero out of the three, And so he has that same black sleeveless leather vest, but has these green streaks to kind of imitate the harness thing that he was wearing earlier that I was laughing about. He still has the ascot, and he's still wearing the blue leather pants with black boots, but the leather pants are ripped up. And I made him the only biker mice to have piercings, and they're black this time. And I also decided to make the faceplate that he wore from the original show. I decided to take that away and have him show his facial scarring from the Plutarchian War back on his home planet. So you can see the Zuko vibes here as well. So that's all the commentary for today's video. I hope you enjoy it. Like, comment, and subscribe, because this is possibly the longest video I've made on my channel. And the drawing was long and fun, but the voice recording was long and sucked. But I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't love this little cartoon show that's pretty rad and cool. And I'm glad I stumbled across it earlier this year. And I also like the redesigns I've seen online from other fans. So thank you for stopping by again, and I can't wait to see what they'll do for the reboot. I'll drop by and see what's up. See ya guys later.